Coming up in this episode of The Lion Queen, the first rescued lion is due to arrive from Spain in just a few days. Can Andi and her team build the new enclosure and get everything in place for their new arrival?
I know how hard it is to dig a hole.
Can a lion that's never been in the wild, never even walked on grass, adapt to her new surroundings?
You can go out.
And a chance to visit a local orphanage and animal shelter turns into a life and death situation.
It's burning! I'm coming.
Andi Rive is making a fresh start. After 3 years running a big lion reserve in South Africa, she's building a new haven, a place where some of these magnificent animals can live in safety. Many lions in captivity are bred to be shot, victims of the trophy hunting industry.
This is a rescue.
Andi's mission is to save some of these animals she's come to love so much.
What do you see? What is it?
Andi's vision has a name, the Love Lions Alive project. It's a new beginning, finding the land, finding workers to build enclosures, and finding money to finance it all. Can Andi, the Lion Queen, make her dream happen? In the last episode of The Lion Queen, after almost a year of searching, Andi finally secured a place for her new lion sanctuary, the Love Lions Alive project at Farm.
Stop holding. Oh, well done.
But her only lion, Mella, fell ill.
Why wouldn't she eat the venison in the first place?
At first, she wouldn't eat, but then it became more serious.
Somebody must know. We must phone somebody.
Visits to the vet didn't give any answers, so Andi and partner Leon took Mella on a long-distance trip to a specialist clinic where the problem was finally diagnosed.
Bad news, bones are looking like paper at the moment, and we can't just estimate how much calcium we're going to give. We need to give it a lot.
While the diagnosis wasn't good, Mella would recover.
I think the prognosis at this stage is pretty good. She's likely to return to normal function.
Now, several weeks after Mella's illness, she's on the mend and enjoying the opportunity to explore the new sanctuary. At just 9 months old, Mella's grown up with dogs Rex, Micah and Jazz as her only animal company. She's used to playing with them and doing what they do, except when it comes to water. For Andi, the last few weeks have been spent finalising documents and securing the lease of Farm. She's also been getting to know the property, planning all the infrastructure that'll be necessary to turn it into a fully fledged lion sanctuary. After reaching an agreement on the property, Andi set up camp at the foot of the giant rock formation that towers over the farm. A pop-up caravan has been home for her, the dogs and Mella. But in that time, Andi's not been lacking for human company. 2 Norwegian volunteers, Lina and Tala, have been building an enclosure to serve as a temporary home for Mella.
It's your home, baby girl. So, I'm satisfied.
Yeah. I know how hard it is to dig a hole.
It's hard work and taking longer than predicted, so Lina and Tala are extending their stay to get the job done.
We talked about maybe be here 1 more week, but we want to finish this.
But they're planning to come back later in the year, as long as they can bring their dogs with them.
So we're going to have lion sanctuary, dog sanctuary with these 2. Speak to the farmer next door about buying a piece of land up here, subdivide, and then we'll be neighbours.
They're not afraid of hard work, digging late into the evening each night to get the job done. Mella isn't the only lion needing a home. In just a few weeks, Natasha is due to arrive. She too is 9 months old and was rescued from a circus in Spain, where she was kept in confined surroundings and poorly looked after. Natasha is currently being cared for in a Spanish holding facility until a new home can be provided for her. And in another week, 2 more lions will be arriving. That means there's a lot of work to be done. There are no existing enclosures, and this is difficult terrain. Erecting lion-proof fences isn't going to be easy.
I do a fence on the mountains, the places that the other guys don't want to do.
Fencer Wilfred and his team are professionals when it comes to lion enclosures.
Every job is new, eh? It's a beautiful place. You can see the terrain is challenging.
The fencing needs to happen quickly, with Andi expecting several lions over the next few weeks.
Roll up last, roll up last, roll up last, roll up last.
Appen Farm is a tourist venue, the mountain attracting climbers and hikers, and the spectacular scenery makes it popular for weddings and other functions. For Andi, it's a question of how these spaces and facilities can be adapted to suit a lion sanctuary.
It's called the backpackers, and the hikers stay here. They all just sleep in here and then do their hiking. I can imagine this is the living area. Dining room, sitting room, play some table tennis. Really and truly I should be making that into a kitchen here for this, for the volunteers. And then that kitchen remains, that whole thing on that side remains, functions. I had originally been thinking that I would make this into the volunteers' dining room, table tennis, darts, TV, sitting room. No, this would be the big living room. But because there's so many bookings for functions, I'm thinking to keep that and then make a backpackers barn into a living area for people.
Andi has big plans and has brought in Jan, a local builder, to carry out the work. But before making any changes, they must assess what state the buildings are in.
We must also check all the fire extinguishers. There's no way this is...
All of them are finished.
A big place like this needs constant maintenance.
It's just dripping down. You can still hear it.
Yeah.
But I've tried.
Have you been up there into
Yeah,
the
I
sea?
went up there this morning to see what it was.
It appears that a previous attempt to fix the problem didn't quite go to plan.
I didn't want to ask too many questions.
With limited funds, there are some hard decisions to make.
How far do I go? What about cosmetics, like finishing up and fixing all of this, repainting it?
Just see how it goes with fixing actual things that need to be fixed. Electrics and plumbing and things, yeah. Then you can start doing some things for me that are cosmetic. Like I'd like to clad underneath all the verandas and make it a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Lena and Tala have finished building Mella's enclosure and are already planning their next trip to Appen Farm.
I'll see you at Christmas.
I'll be home with the dogs.
You look after Doe, bring yourself a tent. Well, we've probably got enough tents.
They've done a great job, especially for two police officers from Norway with no previous building experience. It's the first enclosure to be completed, a big milestone for the lion sanctuary.
I'm very pleased.
Although Mella will eventually outgrow it, it's vital for securing permits and will serve as a nursery in the future. The fences are just one part of the equation. Andi's right-hand man, Elpia, has just finished running a water pipe to one of the many drinking pools that will be spread around the new enclosures. Building the pools and running the pipes is a two-man job, so Tobiso helps out. Being stuck up the side of the mountain with the workshop at the bottom means they have to improvise and use whatever is available.
And who built this?
Me and Tobiso.
With the pipes running over long distances, blockages can happen easily. It pays to check they're clear before joining them up. Next, Andi has to impress an organisation that can supply volunteers to help run the sanctuary.
How many cats are we talking? Well, I've got one here at the moment. She's here with me. I'll take you to meet her.
The rolling terrain at Appen Farm is part of its beauty, but it presents some significant challenges for building the enclosures.
This is on an angle, and this is going to become an electric gate. So it should be level for the gate to be able to operate.
To make it level means moving a lot of dirt. Financially, it's tight for Andi, and sometimes friends bring in heavy machinery because it will save a lot of time. Vessel Comfort, the owner of Andi, helps out and supplies an excavator. As Andi walks the length of the new enclosures, she explains her vision for what they will look like and the natural features she wants to make the most of.
I specifically want the boulders, I want trees, I want undulating ground. This is the fence, and this side here is a management hospital camp with gates to move lines from here to the next camp. See, even this boulder, which is relatively small, you know, there's underneath part for shade, there's top part for lookout. It's just beautiful. That's all I can say. Every day I just think it's beautiful. Look at the view that they've got. Lions like a vista.
The fencing team clear a narrow strip where the new fences will go.
Okay, I want to show you here where you're cleaning. You speak English? What's the fence?
Dat is de draad.
Die draad.
Ja,
Die
die draad.
draad. Hey, kom.
Afrikaans, rather than English, is the default language in these parts. Fortunately, Andi can speak it a little, so she's able to explain exactly where she wants the fence to go.
I've explained it to the other team as well. The fence comes to this point and then runs here. What we've done is we've cut the rock right out of the enclosure. And I specifically want them to be able to lie here. So I want that fence coming down to butt right up against this. And then the rock itself forms a bit of the boundary. But the lions can lie under here. They can't climb up there.
One of Andi's more ambitious plans is for a fence to crisscross a waterway, creating a series of natural rock pools for the lions to drink from.
Then the fence runs across where the water flows. There's a little pool up there. Start waterfall, and then we're going to pool it. We're going to put gabions across there, so that pulls up a bit here for the lions on that side. And then the lions that are this side get the next pool down on this waterway.
The size of these enclosures, plus the uneven terrain and the rocks and the bush, make them unsuitable for housing new lions when they first arrive at the sanctuary.
When the cub first comes in, like Natasha coming from Spain, she can stay in one of those. That'll be an introductory camp before going into a big one. This is where we can monitor her more closely, because once they're out here, it's going to be quite difficult. I mean, a lion could completely disappear in this area. And if she doesn't know me, or she won't come if I call, you know, I won't be able to see that she's all right.
With the arrival of the Spanish lion Natasha, and more lions following soon after, Andi's dream of a lion sanctuary is starting to take shape.
You can imagine that the guests, that's where the guests stay. They'll be hearing the roaring of lions. It echoes off the mountain.
Andi's dream is for the Love Lions Alive project to become a refuge for lions in need, lions living in miserable conditions, or lions bred for the canned hunting industry. She can see her sanctuary becoming a place where they can live out their lives, and people can come to see them. Mella's enclosure is finally finished, and she appears perfectly happy hanging out on her favorite boulder. However, she needs shelter from the sun and elements. Elpia and Tobisa were given the task of building a small structure.
How did it get so big? You know, another thing we must keep in mind, Elpia, is that at the moment they're small and we're talking about them staying inside here for shelter. As soon as they get a bit bigger, they're going to jump on top of it as well. You could have up to, you know, like 500 kilograms sitting on you.
I'm going to need in any case more
Poles.
Then I can put one in the center through as well.
Yeah.
To strengthen it up.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's the only one I have left.
Because even though they've got the boulders, I can assure you that if there's something to jump on, they will jump on it.
Running a lion sanctuary can be very expensive, so when it's fully established, the Love Lions Alive project will rely on paying guests to generate income. But it will also require volunteers to assist with the day-to-day tasks. Andi has invited Zoe and Heidi from This Is Africa, an agency which organises volunteers, to tour Appen Farm.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Zoe.
Hi.
Hi, Andy. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Nice spot, though, actually, as well.
It's so
nice area.
It's so nice.
How many cats are we talking?
Well, I've got one here at the moment. She's here with me. I'll take you to meet her. And then there are two from Spain and one from Lebanon waiting to come out. But I've had so many inquiries over the last few months to take in lions from elsewhere. But there's a lot of land.
It's important Zoe and Heidi leave here knowing the sanctuary will be run ethically and that the volunteers will be well treated.
These are the rooms. Some of them have a shower and some have a bath.
Do you think you'll just do a volunteer, or do you want to do like a volunteer programme and also open it to some sort of guests as well?
I'm going to just have to see what works, what brings in enough money to run and build more enclosures. The 2 enclosures we're doing now, we could fund, but I don't have funds for more than those 2 enclosures,
Right, okay,
so I've got
yeah,
to start
yeah.
getting people in.
The money coming in will help pay for materials and the volunteers will help construct the enclosures.
So you're looking to have a volunteer programme to get it built up,
Yeah.
to help build enclosures, and then once it's done, did you want to
I would
continue
prefer
with the
to
volunteer
only do
programme or not?
volunteers because the people who come out as volunteers really want to be there.
Yeah.
They want to be working with the lions
they
or
wanna
on
help.
farm. They want to, yeah. But then the people who don't want to be volunteers,
work,
they pay and they stay in a nicer room, but they just come and hang out here, listen to the roar of the lions against the mountain.
Yeah.
At the moment, the rock climbers come here. It's very popular with rock climbers. They climb all the boulders, but that's the main climbing rock that the rock climbers climb.
They've seen the facilities and the accommodation, but what will Heidi and Zoe think of Andi's plans for the enclosures? And will a major water leak affect Andi's hopes for gaining the support of This Is Africa?
And then there are 2 from
Andi's hopes of getting help at the sanctuary hinge on a tour she's giving Zoe and Heidi from This Is Africa, an agency which manages volunteers.
It's not just about the space, it's about the configuration of lions.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 lions that live together. You can't then mix other lions with them. And they love water. So every single enclosure is going to have a dam or ponds or river of some sort. And I want them all to drink from natural rock pools. Hello. How are you doing? There are lots of people that are doing a good job about stopping canned lion hunting, but my thing is to make the authorities change the rules of how you keep lions. The size of enclosure, the design of enclosures, the design of the shelters, the type of water that the animals are drinking and the food they're getting.
While Andi continues the tour, her partner Leon has other plans.
I'm taking the dogs to the lion.
Yeah.
Mella had a history of bad eating and poor health as a result. A visit to a specialist vet revealed she wasn't getting enough calcium and other minerals that a 9-month-old lion needs for proper growth. Now she's back in good health.
Look what I've got.
Leon runs a biltong or dried meat factory and at times has a steady supply of leftover meat. Today, it's wildebeest.
Now, if you give it to her and you want to touch it again, she will bite you.
Leon hasn't seen Mella for a week or 2, and while she knows him well, he definitely wouldn't be playing with her while she's eating if she were fully grown. Elpia has finished the basic structure of the shelter in Mella's enclosure. He leaves to get some more materials to waterproof the roof. Since the fences went up, Mella hasn't played with the dogs so much. So this is a chance for her to get out of the enclosure and play with the lion.
Such a beautiful day. The mountains are so clear. I've been away for too long. Come up. You are neglecting me.
Mella's shelter is finished, but just as Elpia and Tabiso have finished that job, something else comes up, a leaking water pipe further down the mountain. Leon has had to go and Mella can't be left roaming around on her own. So Elpia and Tabiso need to get her back into the enclosure.
No, Mella.
Not an easy task.
Mella, no. No. Let us see. Come, Mella. Come, Mella. Come, Mella.
Like a kitten chasing a length of string, Mella follows her favorite blanket through the gate. Now she can explore her new shelter. And now Elpia and Tabiso can fix the leaking pipe. It's the dry season and they're reliant on water stored in tanks, so every drop is precious. It can go for months without rain falling, and this year has been particularly bad. The ground is cracking and the trees and grass are tinder dry. Controlled burn-offs reduce the chance of fire, but the risk is always there. Without water, Appen Farm is vulnerable. And while it's not life-threatening, there's also a wedding function happening tonight, so it's critical the water leak is fixed as soon as possible. Elpia tries to close a shut-off valve, but there's no change. The water is still pouring out of the pipe. With not a moment to lose, Elpia races to Jan.
She needs to go and close this tap at the bottom.
Working together, they find the right taps to turn off.
You've got a fright.
I couldn't get the... I wanted to put it back so I could find a way to close the water.
We closed the wrong tap.
There was the second tank was draining into the main two tanks. So instead of the top two tanks switching off, it was draining the big tank.
So it's under control.
Yes, all finished now. They could put the new fitting on and then open the tanks.
Totally unaware of the narrowly averted crisis, Andi's continuing to show Zoe and Heidi around the sanctuary.
When we started this camp up here for Mella, it was actually a temporary camp that she could stay in until I take over. But my two Norwegian volunteers are so super. They're policewomen from Norway. And they built such a fabulously strong and proper camp that it can't be temporary.
They all agree that the breeding of lions to be hunted is unacceptable.
A lot of times they say the hunting helps because the money goes into conservation, but how is breeding helping? Where does it go, really?
Yeah, it goes into making more animals to be hunted.
Mm.
No.
That's okay. I've had lions jumping all over me before. I always say to volunteers 3 things: blood, sweat and tears. So you want the volunteers, they will help essentially bring in manpower and also some valuable funds as well to help get this project going, isn't it? But what kind of work as well? What sort of work? Helping actually building the fencing?
I know that the capabilities of the volunteers vary. These 2 girls, what they did was amazing, and then there's some volunteers who can actually do nothing. I had one girl who came out and, can you pick up bones? No. Can you help us burn the fire break? No. Can you? No. So like,
what can you do?
Also, sometimes they expect me to be with them all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't be with them all the time. So I'll have team leaders. You know, I'll get a local person who stays here and who works with that group. I mean, I could have a crew of people that just simply pick up stones to put in the gabions. We've got wattle that needs to be cut.
Something else we can help with TIA, it's not just about helping to recruit volunteers for various projects. Also, we do help to try and fundraise with projects as well.
Oh, do you?
So if you had a fundraising campaign for your project, we can link that into our campaigns page as well. So anybody that accesses our page will find that as well, and then can link straight to like a donation page or button or whatever you've got set up. So, and obviously advertising it on the TIA Facebook as well, it gets out to many, many volunteers, which are quite worldwide as well. So.
The visit appears to have been a success, which bodes well for the future of the Love Lions Alive project. They take one last walk up the mountain to take in the beautiful surrounds.
I think volunteers would enjoy coming here, just for the beer and that as well. And
really good. Is it? Yes, definitely. Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, the water supply to the wedding function and main accommodation is still turned off. With wedding guests due to arrive very soon, it's important Elpia, Tobiso and Jan fix the leaking pipe.
When in doubt, panic. Oh, it's a customer spade. Cut that tube, leave it where it is and bind over that tube. I think it's better that we just wait until next week, Sunday or Monday, when we've got more time. Because if the guests arrive and these aren't working, we're going to have unhappy people.
It's only a temporary fix, but at least the water can be turned back on, in time for the workers returning from a day in the sun and the first of the wedding party. Appin Farm has been a wedding venue for many years, and Andi hopes to keep it going to bring in much needed revenue. While the festivities go on down the mountain, Andi's heading back up to her camp to spend time with Mella and the dogs.
Hello, dogs. Hello, Lion. Come, baby girl. Don't take her meat. This is Mella's meat. You've got your meat.
Sudden fire outbreak at the South Africa Orphanage and Animal Rescue Centre. Zoe and Heidi's visit to the Love Lions Alive project the previous day went well, but Andi wants to keep the dialogue going, so she's driving to the local headquarters of This Is Africa. Zoe and Heidi work out of a children's orphanage and animal rescue centre a few hours' drive from Appin Farm. As Andi gets near, there are ominous signs. Lightning strikes in the distance, and then smoke on the hillside. She arrives to find the orphanage wreathed in smoke and carnage everywhere. A huge fire has raged through the property.
It was absolute chaos. All the kitchen, behind the kitchen and the larper area was just flames, really quite high, about 20, 30 feet. And Millie was leaving with the kids, saying just forget it, you know.
The children were moved to a safe area, and everyone else was handling a bucket.
We had an inflatable swimming pool in there that kids like swimming in. It was full of water. We just started getting buckets and throwing up against the kitchen. But when we first come in, we thought, oh no, we thought the home was finished, you know.
Given the extensive damage, it's amazing no one was hurt. Even the animals appear unscathed, although a much-loved tortoise called Charlie is still missing.
All the volunteers that were here, you know, they're all heroes because they saved the home last night.
Fighting the fire has left them exhausted, but there's a massive sense of relief that their efforts weren't in vain. Most of the buildings are still standing, and the damage could have been a lot worse. However, their joy is short-lived.
Here, just here. Smoking behind. See? You've got the shutters. Yeah.
Just, yeah, pick the shutters.
Which way? Up top?
As the wind picks up, it's breathing new life into the smouldering embers amongst the trees. There's a real danger of the fire restarting and spreading to new areas. They aren't out of trouble yet.
Whoa!
Whoa.
It's burning!
Is it? I'm coming.
With the pool now empty and water reserves dry, it's almost impossible to extinguish the embers. They're in real danger.
Now, the problem is that these trees are still going to burn. And it's already in the base of those trees. The only way we're going to put it out is with water.
Andi calls one of the farmers she knows in the area.
Hello. Just trying to help here with the fire. The problem is that I can see that the fire needs water and there's no water. I'm wondering, at your farm, do you have a firefighter with water? Or do you have a drum container that we can... No, we've just driven in here now from Harrismith. Like we arrived 10 minutes ago. Thank you.
Guys, have you got the other shovel over there? Yeah.
Andi's call means that help is on its way, but will it arrive in time? Smouldering embers don't stay that way for long when everything is so dry.
There was a fire on Wednesday night out in the back mountains, quite far from here. Unfortunately as well, 3 people died in that fire. We need to try to make sure everything's out as much as possible, because if the wind picks up again, it could send embers everywhere.
Finally, help arrives. Andi's friend Matthew Ackles works on a farm nearby and has brought his firefighting crew. With fire being a constant threat and the chance of it spreading being so high, neighbours lending a hand is to everyone's benefit.
People message, people go, you know, we need help this side, Alpha Conference Centre's in trouble, and everyone kind of goes. Then there's a problem here, we all go there.
Yeah. And after she shoots off, I can take you them round. Oh, Charlie! This is Charlie. Hello, Charlie. Oh, baby boy. I'm so glad to see him. I didn't see him for yesterday.
Charlie isn't the only one to resurface. With the fire under control, it's now safe for the children to return to the orphanage. And there's more to be happy about. It's raining. This will put out any remaining embers, and it will replenish their drained water supply. The children shelter indoors with orphanage leader Millie.
I see them as my children now because, you know, they've been with me so long. And we really just trying to make a difference. They've come from homes that are quite dysfunctional and they've had to be removed, and mostly through abject poverty and neglect.
The children's resilience is a testament to the care Millie gives them. She's taken on the role of mother.
My mother took us to the hotel and then she came back home and then she stopped the fire with the firefighters, and then when we came back home we saw what happened. And my books are burnt and most of my clothes.
It's shared experiences like fighting the fire that can only help Andi's quest to get the Love Lions Alive project established and fully operational. For that to happen, there's still a host of things Andi needs to sort out, and new problems surface every day. Like Andi's plan for a series of rock pools in the lion enclosures. The stream is only a trickle at the moment, but it's the dry season. In the wet season, the stream will become a raging torrent. The danger is that with such a huge drop from the mountain above, any debris caught up in the waterfall could easily smash right through the fencing, allowing the lions to escape.
There's a big concern, yes.
With limited time before the Spanish lion arrives, it's a huge blow.
Making a rock pool here at the bottom of the spring. Yeah, with a fountain.
Andi and Wilfred struggle to come up with a plan. Most of the poles leading to the stream are in and the mesh is going on. Any significant changes to the fence now could prove costly and very time-consuming.
This is not stable, this is definitely not stable ground. Eh?
Yeah.
There will be water coming down here.
At a hell of a speed.
At a hell of a speed. I think you still have to do gabions there, or put rocks in there as for breaking.
The gabions and rocks will act as breakwalls, diverting and diffusing the water pressure as it rushes down the hillside. But it means there's even more work to do before lions can go into these enclosures, and both are going to be needed very soon. The Spanish lion isn't far away, and Andi's expecting 2 more young male cubs which have been recently rescued. They were bred at a lion farm like this one, and were destined to be 2 more casualties of the canned hunting industry in South Africa.
How many camps are you going to end with?
There may be no end to it. Depends how many lions need to come here for sanctuary. I would ideally like to have at least one roaming ground here, so that we've got all these enclosures, that they meet up onto one really big area, and then you allow different groups out at different times into that roaming area, so that they get a chance to have a big area, and then I'll put those guys back into their enclosure and let another grow up.
Next, Andi heads to an international lion protest march in Cape Town. While the last of the fences are being completed, Andi travels to Cape Town to be part of a protest march organised by international animal welfare organisation 4 Paws. It's one of 60 marches happening around the world, aimed at making people aware of the practice of breeding captive lions for the purpose of can and trophy hunting.
Ban can hunting!
Ban can hunting!
Save our lions!
Save our lions!
Save them now!
Save them now!
Currently, breeding lions for the hunting industry isn't illegal in South Africa.
They claim that hunting is the only way to save Africa's wildlife. They claim that hunting creates jobs. They lie.
Andi's not making a speech, but her work with lions is well known to many of the people here.
It's lovely to meet you, Andi, and thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, thank
Love
you.
Lions Alive, and yeah.
While it's taken her away from the work happening at Appin Farm, it's been valuable for Andi to come to Cape Town.
Good evening, ma'am. Where are we travelling to?
Johannesburg.
Johannesburg. Okay, thank you.
Participating in the march was an affirmation of what Andi's trying to achieve with the Love Lions Alive project.
When I was with everybody and we were actually walking and you saw people on the side of the road sort of thumbs up for the whole thing or hooting and agreeing with what the march was saying. The guys were chanting and they were saying, stop canned hunting, stop killing our lions. So as the march progressed, I really started feeling supported and made me feel like there are other people who feel what I'm feeling, and they're willing to do something about it. Then they've got the power to do something about it.
Andi's renewed enthusiasm is going to be put to the test over the next few weeks. She's flying to Johannesburg, where she connects with Natasha, the ex-circus lion from Spain, and her friend Drew, who arranged to bring Natasha to the Love Lions Alive project.
Yeah, she lands in 15 minutes.
Do you think it's fine to park in these?
Yeah, because we're going to need to reverse your car up to here, so they can just load her straight onto the back.
Drew is the CEO of Captured in Africa, an agency that runs ethical photography tours of Africa's animals. She's brought some of her team along to help. They've been working hard to get Natasha out of Spain for several months.
How did Natasha come about?
Drew.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
They're trying to bring about awareness in Spain with regards to what's going on in the circuses and stuff like that. The lion was confiscated, and then that's when she contacted me. And then obviously the first person was Andi. What's the time now? Okay, so she's obviously just landed.
Natasha may be in South Africa, but there are still hurdles to cross. Every bit of paperwork is checked, and permits must be in place. And as her crate is shifted into the loading bay, they can only stand back, watch, and hope everything goes well.
We can see that in the crate.
Frustrating. She's sitting over there and I just want to get her. I just want to hug her and tell her it's all right, but I can't because she's alive.
All very official. Do you want to keep all of those? I just made copies of all
Natasha is wheeled towards the exit. But there's just one final document check before she's theirs. It's their first chance to see Natasha and to see what state she's in after her very long journey.
She's beautiful. She's very scared, but she's beautiful.
It's gone very well. So we just now need to get a frightened little kitty back to Love Lions Alive.
I can smell her. She smells when she's afraid.
Finally, they're underway.
But we've now got that whole journey home. It's such a long drive. I just want to get her home.
Back home, Leon and the team are keen for an update.
Hey, how's the lion?
She's very scared. I didn't speak to her much because there were so many people there.
Yeah.
That I thought it's best if she stays in her sort of zombie, semi-comatose state. Let her just lie there like that. I'll start speaking to her when we get home.
Halfway on the long drive back to Harrismith, Andi calls Drew, who's following behind.
Hello? I want you to look on the left.
They stop to check on Natasha.
I need to learn Spanish. Hello. Oh, baby girl. She's repositioned herself. She's opened her body forward, so she's not all scrunched up in the corner. I think it's going to take a little while. You come on here, open this. Just directly on. Hey, that's fine, baby.
As Natasha's crate is unloaded, Mella takes a keen interest. She's not been around other lions since she was 1 week old. The smell of another lion is definitely triggering something.
Here you go, Don. Good stuff. Hey, baby girl. She's right there ready to go out, eh? Yeah, she's right at the front. She's right there.
I'm going up.
You can go out. She has no idea what she's seeing. Oh, here she comes.
It's hard to appreciate what this moment must be like for Natasha. A whole life abused and spent in cages. She would have seen straw on the circus floor, but she's never seen grass, let alone walked on it. And there will be so many strange smells, including the scent of another female lion.
It went well. I think it was good. Obviously she took a little moment to work out what was going on, but we thought it might take hours, like she might only tonight come out of her crate. But she did. I mean, and it's quite brave, actually.
Very.
Okay? We've let Mella in and out of this enclosure for the last sort of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that part of what Natasha feels and smells from the word go is Mella.
her, yeah. Huge, huge, huge success. I mean, she's gone from having nothing to really having everything. You know? It's awesome.
Next time on the Lion Report, it's been a few days since Natasha arrived. Andi is concerned about how she's behaving.
She's still a little bit sort of down, a little bit sulky.
And 2 new male lion cubs have arrived.
This is a rescue.
Bred to be sold and hunted for trophies, it's a big step for Andi's team to be bringing them to the safety of the sanctuary. But the move appears to seriously affect one of the lions.
If he doesn't come out, it's because he's really scared.